Okay, so we're live.
We'll be getting started in just about 2 minutes.
Good evening. We'd like to welcome to the virtual series that you have joined is What's Working in Schools Now, and it's supported by the Grebel Foundation, the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, Remake Learning, and Digital Promise. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Grebel Foundation, Mr. Greg Baer, to say a few words. Greg.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Rocco and Dr. Rondinelli. We're so grateful tonight to have two amazing superintendents, Dr. Keruskin and Dr. Nagler, both of whose schools are members of the League of Innovative Schools. They, along with so many of you who are here online, have worked and reworked your plans 57 times. And here we are into the second weekend of October, and this is a good chance to learn from one another. What's working, what's not, and how do we think about things as we move ahead? And Dr. Keruskin and Dr. Nagler, we are so grateful to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do for so many young people, their educators, and their families. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. You know, this is the fourth in a series of virtual presentations under the Transform for Tomorrow banner that Dr. Rondinelli and I have produced since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as former superintendents, we know that leadership requires flexibility in good times and in crisis situations. When you're leading an organization, steady and consistent leadership practices will lead to success. And we've heard wonderful stories about how superintendents, principals, and teachers are leading their school districts in creative and often unique ways, from engaging students with virtual concerts to online story time and virtual projects. Out of crisis comes creativity and opportunity to re-examine our practices. And we know that if you perform your job in these unprecedented times, you can achieve just anything. We're so happy that you've joined us. We've asked 5 superintendents from the Pittsburgh region to partner with 6 amazing leaders from all over the United States to help us share their stories and experiences. We hope that you attend all 5 sessions, and through this experience, you will build virtual relationships with colleagues not only locally, but around the country. Just as a reminder, these sessions are being recorded, and we will notify you if you've registered where those will be posted. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Rondinelli, who will introduce our speakers for tonight. Dr. Rondinelli.
Good evening, everyone. We really have 2 top innovators in the country, and as Mr. Baer said, we are so fortunate to have Dr. Michael Nagler and Dr. Todd Kurushkin with us. Dr. Nagler graduated from Binghamton University, and he began his career as a social studies teacher at the David A. Booty Junior High School, and he got his administrative degree from Brooklyn College. After completing his administrative certifications, he was appointed to assistant principal at David A. Booty, and then he obtained his doctorate degree from Columbia University. Upon completing his EDD, he was accepted as an assistant principal at Mineloa Middle School. After 2 years on the job, Dr. Nagler was fortunate to become the principal of Mineloa High School. During his tenure as principal, the regents and results acceptances into 4-year colleges reached their highest levels. Dr. Nagler then took the position of deputy superintendent in Mineloa, and he was able to oversee personnel, technology, secondary school improvement. His achievement in those areas led him to become the superintendent of Mineloa schools on July 1st, 2009. And most recently, he was a finalist as the AASA Superintendent of the Year, and he is in the Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools. Likewise, Dr. Todd Kurushkin is also a member of the League of Innovative Schools. Dr. Kurushkin is the superintendent of Elizabeth Forward School District in Elizabeth, PA. He joined the district as an assistant superintendent in 2009, and after serving for 13 years as a physics and math teacher, and then as a high school administrator in other districts in the Pittsburgh region. Dr. Kurushkin is currently a Learn Lab Fellow in the Human-Computer Interaction Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. He is also a visiting professor in the Entertainment Technology Center. Dr. Kurushkin received a Digital Innovation and Learning Award in Silicon Valley in 2015 by EdSurge and Digital Promise, and he also was in the Learning Ninja category. He continued to teach at California University throughout this time, and he has been a lead with the Maker Movement and has visited the White House several times under the Obama administration. Again, Dr. Kurushkin and Dr. Nagler are top innovators in our country, and we welcome them to the Pittsburgh region. Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. I forgot I was presenting with a ninja. That's good.
Oh, I knew you'd say that, Dr. Nagler. And thanks, Billy and Bart and Greg, for having us. Kevin, can you see our screen okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're good.
Dr. Nagler and I were, again, asked to talk about delivering instruction to students through interactive learning and engaging students with technology. So we're going to give a lot of different samples of what our teachers, some of our great teachers are doing in our schools. Both Dr. Nagler and I are, again, like Billy mentioned, are part of Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools, and we are also working closely with Modern Teacher. Dr. Nagler, do you want to talk just briefly about some of your work with Modern Teacher?
Yeah, I think Modern Teacher is a great framework for doing virtual learning and really categorizing some of the work you do and scaling the work in the same platform. So a lot of the work that Todd and I do is very similar. We're kind of sister districts. We're nowhere near each other, but we have a lot of similarities. And Modern Teacher platform allows us to share among and between our teachers.
I think one of the key things for Dr. Nagler and leaders that are watching this webinar is the work that we were doing before COVID-19, pre-COVID-19. And we've been working with Modern Teacher and Digital Promise. Our schools were one-to-one before COVID, and we were really focusing on personalized learning. So there's been a lot of work, a lot of professional development. And Dr. Nagler, you just mentioned something that's so important to our work is scaling it in every classroom. All of us have, rock star teachers in our schools, but how do you scale this work in every classroom? And, COVID-19, when it hit on March 13th, has really accelerated school districts to be able to scale the work in every classroom. Dr. Nagler, anything you want to talk before COVID-19?
I'll jump to the next slide because I think central to the work of digital learning, virtual learning, remote learning, whatever term you want to use, is the learning management system, is to have an infrastructure that allows you to, your teachers to build curriculum and to, this notion of giving work to children, getting it back, giving feedback back, that whole relationship among and between your kids is critical to making all of this work. And if you spend any time and energy and investment of time and energy and money, it would be in the learning management system.
And again, we just showed a couple examples of what different types of learning management systems out there. And again, some teachers were using it, some teachers weren't before COVID-19, and then when March 13th hit, everybody's kind of expected to be using a learning management system. And again, our session today is talking about how to make it engaging for kids. The other piece that's in here, in a sense of, we have traditional school students in desk in rows. You have students that are in, Zooming, watching it from their home, learning from basically everywhere. And the teachers are trying to figure this out, and it is very, very difficult. It's new for everybody. There's a lot of schools, especially in the Pittsburgh region, I'm sure in New York, they weren't one-to-one before March 13th when COVID hit, and now everybody's trying to get to one-to-one. And that's hard in itself. Elizabeth Ford, this is the 9th year that every student K-12 has had an iPad, and we've learned a lot over those 9 years. And now again, accelerating that technology in every student's hands in every classroom, and how teachers are dealing with that can be overwhelming. Dr. Nagler?
Yeah, and I think with different modalities, in my case, we have full in-person, we have a full remote school, as well as a hybrid, where we're live streaming some classes or partnering children that are at home with children that are in school. So we get a connection among and between our kids. So all of those things, the intricacies involved in delivering all of those are monumental unto itself. When you're trying to build the plane while you're flying, it makes it even more interesting. So it goes back to, where should we start? If you're just beginning this work, put the time and energy into the curriculum and building it into an LMS. If you're scaling the work, you need to be creative in how you engage kids. And I think the symbolism of the next slide, Todd, is really, can you flick the switch and deliver the same thing you did in person at home? No. There's definitely going to be differences, but can you deliver quality education virtually? Absolutely.
And we talked to a lot of school leaders across the country, and again, on March 13th, everybody was trying to flip that switch. And, how do you deal with your curriculum online? How do you deal with textbooks, all your digital tools? How does Zoom or video conferencing with the students and parents, how does that work, and how does that all integrate? And again, everybody was, back in March, April, May, trying to flip that switch of trying to make it happen, and again, trying to make it engaging. And a lot of schools across the country were just, teachers and principals and everybody was just dumping files into a learning management system. If it's videos, if it's PDFs, if it's PowerPoint, and kids were bored. Kids were very bored, and we continue to struggle with that. How do we engage kids in learning using a learning management system? How do you build your curriculum in a learning management system that in a way that can be very, very engaging? I don't know if Dr. Nagler, if you saw some of your teachers or nearby school districts just dumping things into a learning management system.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, those of us that have been doing it, we started with the end in mind, so we had the infrastructure designed. There's a lot of components to engaging kids, and I think organization is the first one you really have to focus on. Is how are you going to describe to virtual students how they're going through their day and make sure it all makes sense for them on the work they're getting, how they log into Zoom, in my case it's WebEx, or what work is supposed to be due when. Nothing different virtually than what we do in person, but the methods are very different.
Again, I think, I continue to get people reaching out, for help. They, from administrators, teachers, how do you build this out? How do you flip that switch? And it is difficult. The work that Dr. Nagler has done at Mineloa, and the work that Dr. Rocco and myself, and now Keith Connick and Steve Hartnett, our administrators and teachers at Elizabeth Ford, how do you? We've been at this for 8-9 years trying to work these digital tools. So, and how do we? This is ultimately, I think everybody wants kids to be excited and learning through a learning management system and have that smile and that engagement. And it is very difficult. So, Dr. Nagler and I wanted to share some examples of some amazing work happening at each of our schools. This is Tony Francia. He's a pre-algebra teacher in 7th grade. And you could see this is his homepage in a sense of going into Canvas and how it's laid out now compared to just listing things in a file in his resources, for the playlist of what's, and this is all standards based here, this playlist, but then how to click on Zoom, how to connect all your digital tools into your learning management system. So, you know, he has a video, it's maybe hard to see, but he has an IXL login video, how to explain to the kids how to log into IXL, or how to use a split screen and screen video, how to log into Google, those kind of things. But it's all integrated into our learning management system, which is Canvas. We've been working with Canvas now for a couple years. And again, trying to scale that work before COVID, but then again, it's accelerated to make sure it's occurring in every classroom. Here's another great example of a fourth grade math teacher. And it shows, you know, this is the homepage of Canvas for this teacher. It explains to the students what day, clicking on certain days, the playlist would open, and all the assignments are integrated. All our integrated digital tools are integrated into our learning management system. There's videos for the teachers, for the students from the teachers, but again, it's all packaged together in a learning management system. It takes a lot of work to be able to pull something like this with playlists, with clicking on per day. You know, if a kid logs on Tuesday, what do I have to do? Is it clear to them exactly their assignments and how to walk through things if they have problems? You know, they're by themselves, they're learning by themselves in some cases. And are they going to be able to navigate through this, or are they just going to give up? Or are they going to get frustrated? And again, that's most of our teachers at Elizabeth Ford have playlists. They have these pages, home pages that look like this, so it's easy to navigate for our students. And again, just another example of using Canvas. I'm always amazed that even our kindergarten students are using Canvas in the classroom to be able to navigate their online work. We are in a hybrid model and a full remote model. So students have that option to pick a hybrid or full remote. But the Canvas is used at Harvard, it's used at Carnegie Mellon, at Penn State, and our kindergarten kids are using Canvas. And a lot of pictures at that point in K1-2 using Canvas, and kids would just click on, touch with were iPads, K-12, so the kids would just touch Monday, and it would take them to exactly what they need to learn for that day. So just again, some examples of different grade levels, but we are using learning management system K through 12 Canvas, and there are our teachers are just knocking it out of the park in the sense of especially our primary grade levels.
Yeah, I just wanted to show another one, just not as fancy. This is just a Google Doc. We put the teacher's picture, and if you hit the picture, because kids were getting confused about what teacher at what time, you hit the picture and that takes you into their WebEx room. So there are different ways to organize the day. And we started out doing this more for the parents virtually than we did for the kids, but it works both ways. You can jump to the next one. And it's not limited to students. This is a PD. So we've, one of the principals organized a PD and resources for her teachers in their virtual classroom. And the first activity is to actually make your Bitmoji and join the group. So that's all of, not all of my teachers, but that's a good number of my teachers at my middle school involved in the work of SEL in this particular case.
Dr. Nagler, you're missing your emoji in there.
Yes. So, but you could tell mine. When mine goes on there, it's easy to tell.
Here's an example of badging using Canvas. So our kindergarten students are focusing on badging, mastery learning. So, but this is all built into our learning management system, and we use Badger to keep track of our badges for each of our students. So when they receive, they count to 10, they count to 20. They know their letters, they get a certain badge, and this all automatically populates as they earn their badge in our learning management system at the kindergarten level. So again, integrating personalized learning, customized learning at the elementary level, but again, integrating that all in a learning management system.
Yeah, I think this is an example of our badges. We've taken our badges and made them learning pathways. So we have micro badges into a bigger standard. This started with a conversation Todd and I had. We actually stole this from Elizabeth Ford, and we've had like 6 iterations from that. And it's gotten more and more complex. But I want to pause to really say the virtual learning gives us this opportunity to think about assessment differently. And teachers get really hung up on tests and multiple choice and how am I going to give a test and how do I know they're not going to cheat. The badges for our young one is a great way to rethink assessment, not only in person, but virtually. And we've started out, I just saw a question about how the parents to see that they love it. We're in second grade now, so they only know badges. We started with them in pre-K and now we're up to second grade. And we keep building on it. And it's all of this is available on my website. So mineola.k12.ny.us, and you click on parents. All of our badge books are free for anyone to use. So it's a great open resource if you're interested in it.
Yeah, Dr. Nagler, you've done a great job expanding it to multiple grade levels. We're just doing pre-K and K. But for school leaders listening to us, it's a great opportunity now. I know teachers are struggling with how to grade students, and you have half the kids there or they're remote, but focusing on mastery learning and coming up with your own badges of what do you want kids to learn by the end of kindergarten, and building that out in your learning management system. It's just a perfect opportunity to accelerate that personalized learning in your schools.
Playlists are a nomenclature that Modern Teacher uses. It's basically a souped up lesson plan. So this is just an example of like how do you think about guided reading, which it's commonplace in our in-person classrooms. How do you think of it virtually? And this is kind of a checklist or a list, not checklists. It's different methods that we can use virtually, and on the right are the resources associated with it. So we started building these out as a permanent resource or a permanent digital library. And one of the big things I stress to my colleagues is don't look at this as one and done. I have to get through COVID. You should really be thinking about how do I build this digital library that I can use when the pandemic is over and I still have a value added in all of my classrooms.
Well, that's such a key point, Dr. Nagler, because we're not just implementing a learning management system to get through COVID. I mean, how can you use that learning management system and create those digital tools and that digital library beyond COVID and post-COVID? So no, that's such a great point.
And playlists aren't limited to teachers. This is an administrator, this is my middle school principal organizing her PD. And they built a playlist about e-learning, and you can see the icons they use and how they go about structuring it. So the teachers can do all of this PD virtually, and it's PD virtually, how to do virtual teaching. So it's kind of a full circle.
This is just an example. We did a lot of work with our teachers back in March, April, and May, but over the summertime, our teachers did 2 days of professional development over the summertime online using Canvas. And one of the modules they had to do was screencasting. So this is just an example of a screenshot of our teachers. In the top right corner is our teacher actually explaining this concept while drawing on the iPad. So again, just a way to be more interactive. It's your teachers explaining it. It's ironic, this screencasting screenshot here. I was talking to our high school teachers before, or high school students before COVID, and they preferred that the teacher explaining things in a video instead of them going to a YouTube video and watching it. They want to see their teachers explain it in the way that they would do in a normal classroom. And that was before COVID, as we were really trying to integrate Canvas in every classroom with every teacher. And that was the feedback from our students, that they wanted to hear their teacher actually give the screencast, not just go to a YouTube video. Here's a high school chemistry homepage for Canvas. And again, it's showing where the playlists are, where the course syllabus is, and again, integrating your textbook into Canvas and really working through all your digital tools, and also how do you integrate some of the other tools that you have in the classroom into your learning management system. So important announcements that are in here, remind the text to get any kind of remind messages from the teacher, and then Twitter. So following Twitter. So again, just another way to look at what a homepage and how to make it more interactive than just listing a bunch of PowerPoints and PDFs and assignments. Some other ways that are even our library aides are helping and reading stories, and students can actually share books and tap to listen, and it's our library aide that's actually reading some of the stories, and just some incredible work that our teachers are just trying to be so creative to engage students on a daily basis. And again, it's hard to engage students in a digital world. But our teachers and teachers across the country are coming up with creative ideas. But again, we have to share these as much as possible. You know, and even clubs, and, you know, back in August, we were trying to figure out, you know, how do we offer clubs and make school, you know, bring some normalcy back to kids. So this is Raider Society, an 8th grade ELA teacher, Miss Betts, amazing teacher to follow on Twitter. But just another way to connect with kids in a digital world through clubs. And again, we're continuing to explore different ways, but this is all through a learning management system, our learning management system, so the kids can log on, talk with the teachers, and interact in that club. And again, our virtual photography club, we had a photography club in person. Again, you know, trying to limit kids meeting, and so now they have a virtual photography club, and they're so excited to have that in place for the schools. Again, to try to bring some normalcy back, but just some examples of even beyond the classroom. You know, how do you have clubs and organizations that can continue to meet? You know, we kind of, our principals and our teachers, they're just so focused at trying to keep the normalcy for our kids. There's no, you know, they're not making an excuse because of COVID, we can't have after school clubs. They're finding ways, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, I concur. It's a very big deal to try to bring some normalcy back. This is just an example of using Twitter as a PD tool. So we use the hashtag Mineloa proud, and I would recommend all of you to go check it out. My teachers routinely tweet things they're doing in their class, some new initiative. On the left, you see those two teachers. One is saying she was inspired by the other to do using iPads, so how we're going to flip a class. And the one on the right, it's the same thing. It's just techniques that they're using in class. My community is very active in trying to stay together and relate to one another using this. Keep going, Todd. I think we're running out of time, so we're going to do this.
Just a couple examples of Twitter. Ms. Betts, again, great person to follow, 8th grade ELA teacher. Steve Hartnett is our Director of Digital Teaching and Learning at Elizabeth Ford. He did a whole Canvas confetti contest. There was over 600 students, or almost 600 students, that entered the contest. Really engaging, but again, putting things on Twitter to share. You know, I'm always looking at Dr. Nagler and all his great teachers that what they're doing at Mineloa, and getting ideas to bring back to Elizabeth Ford, and you know, just another way to use social media to share ideas too. And we've seen where, you know, we have 6 different schools within our district, and one teacher will post something, and it'll get that post will get through into another school, and that'll bring them some ideas within even our own district.
I just want to touch on, before we lose time, just jump to the next one, Todd. You know, both of our districts have courses, do PD virtually, and we built out in 2 different platforms coursework for teachers to teach each other. So in my case, I have teachers film their best practice on how to use an app or use a tool that we have, and then we share it district-wide so we can scale the work outside of a building and outside of a grade level. And Todd, this is the next 2 slides are just similar methodologies on our thinking of how to scale in the work.
And Dr. Nagler, you were doing a lot of this in the spring and summertime, correct?
Yeah, we did a crash course the last week of June, our last week of school. We did all PD in prep for September. Um, but the beauty about this is you invest in your teachers to build an asset, and then you have it forever. So it's constant, you know, it's PD in pajamas for most of my people, and they love it. They love the flexibility with it.
These are, again, this is example, just Elizabeth Ford, but these are all built into our Canvas pages. But this is what our teachers did over the summertime, which is incredible. How to create playlists, how to screencast and web conference, how to, another level of Canvas. And then we actually included some HR pieces too regarding some state mandates.
Yeah, mine. Just go back one, Todd. We have a little different method, but we do learning pathways. So each one of those has multiple challenges and courses in it. And if you complete one, in certain cases, we'll give you in-service credit. So it's another way to just, basically reward teachers for doing the work independently outside of school. And lastly, this was just some SEL stuff. I can't stress enough. We have to have eyes on kids, and we have to really check in with how they're doing in social emotional learning. We tie it in with growth mindset, so we do a lot of things with neurons, and you'll see some of the pictures there. And you can check out my YouTube channel, and they'll have tons of resources about growth mindset if you're interested in pursuing that.
Well, thank you, guys, and don't go anywhere. We have several questions from some of the folks out there, and our colleague and friend, Mickey McManus, we've not seen in a while, but Mickey, glad that you're on, and you've had some, as always, post some very good questions. So I'll ask those of the panelists and see if they can answer them. We have a few other questions as well. But Billy, I'll take, you want me to take the first one, and then you can do the next question. Do any of the management systems help you with dynamic formative assessment and fostering productive struggle, et cetera? I'm thinking of approaches like the true dimensions for math understanding that seems to work well both with student and teacher development. And Mickey posted a site there. Are you guys familiar with that at all, or?
We take it outside of the management system. So most of that is done in a complementary app, depending on the topic and the grade level. So the management systems are great for certain things and not wonderful for other things. So you have to be able to go in and out of them and link into them so you can manage it all. I don't know if you want to add to that, Todd.
No, I just think, even with our learning management system, how many times people retire and, all that material that they've created over 30 some years have gone, so I don't know. I agree. Some of that piece, the learning management system is not perfect for everything, but creating that digital library is one of the most important things for that LMS.
We also have a question that came in from Dr. Lutz, our superintendent colleague from the Baldwin School District. In looking at Canvas pages, does every teacher use a standard template to ensure consistency for students? He said that our early Canvas efforts have met with a little resistance from parents wanting more consistency across the pages. Any thoughts on this?
No, it's a great question. And Dr. Lutz and I have talked about it before. And we have certain things we've standardized, but the template itself, we want teachers to be creative. But you would see very similar things regarding playlists, how to connect it with Zoom. You wouldn't see just a bunch of files on a screen and kids trying to navigate that. We want that to be more interactive. So we've done a lot of training regarding trying to make it more interactive for the kids, but we haven't just created just one template for everybody.
We haven't done that either, but we do encourage our teachers to use the same format for organization. So among and between classes, it looks the same for kids when they interact with it.
We had another question too, and this could be for Todd and Mike. Have your K badges replaced report cards? And so how did your parents respond to that?
Our parents have loved it. They know exactly where their children are. Even in December, when we have some conversations about retention, the majority of class or X amount of percentage of class have these amount of badges, and this is where your child's struggling. First grade teachers have really have that information, knowing what their kids are coming into and what they know and what they don't know. But our parents have really enjoyed that mastery learning with badges. One of the key things though we did was we added additional parent teacher conferences so the parents feel comfortable what those badges mean throughout the year and where their child should be. But no, it's been a huge success. Dr. Nagler?
We literally make a book. So this is the one I'm holding is second grade in a book, and it lays out every badge, the expectations and criteria for every badge. It gives QR codes so parents can help their kids in that particular skill or standard. And it's so much more comprehensive than a report card.
Yeah.
And you move away from the 1, 2, 3, 4, which is ambiguous in a lot of cases, and it's very concrete. You meet the criteria for the badge or you don't, and it spells it out very easily. And the new and our new twist this year is these micro badges, because some of these standards are so voluminous that you need to really take it into bite-sized chunks to help parents and kids know where they are in the continuum of mastery of the standard.
I think one of the struggles, and Dr. Nagler, I think you would agree with, you just can't flip that switch like we started at the beginning. I mean, getting teachers feeling comfortable with whatever learning management system you're using, how to start to build the curriculum out, how to integrate all the digital tools in there, and then how do you make it more interactive? I mean, it is a lot of work. I mean, it's not just going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen over a couple months. I mean, it is a lot. It's a long journey.
Yeah, and again, I can't stress enough, if pay your teachers to build this stuff, and it's an asset you use all the time, and they're very involved, and they own it. So it's a great methodology to get buy-in when they're the creators. It's the same thing we want our kids to do. So why not apply it to our teachers?
We had 2 more questions, guys. One was, do you pay your teachers for the summer PD or completing those teaching videos? Is there compensation involved for that? That was from one of our participants tonight.
For Elizabeth Ford, our teachers had a contractual day of 191. So when we finished up back in May 28th, May 29th, they owed us a couple extra days. And again, what we were used to in schools was that they come in the auditorium or they come in the school. We gave them the freedom all summer just to get the two days finished, and they actually had to complete 4 modules. But we gave them that freedom over the summertime to complete the modules by a certain date, and it worked out very well.
Yeah, we do both. We did the same. We also will pay teachers to create the courses, and in certain cases, we'll give them in-service credit if they do
Great.
halfway.
We have one final question from Mickey, and I've seen tools like Mural that allow the teacher or moderator to do things like celebrate with virtual confetti when a student or a team levels up. Are you finding that any of these tools allow you to be playful and help the teachers and students bond on the SEL side of things? I'm thinking of rituals and such.
I know Elizabeth Ford, I mean, with Canvas, we have confetti Canvas that the teachers are working through, high fives. It's a great point, Mickey. And how do we reach out to kids and it's like that sticker on their paper. They get excited about it. And how do we do that in using digital tools? So I don't think we've gotten to that point, but I think our teachers are striving for it every day.
Yeah, I think individual teachers do it differently, and there's pockets of success with it. I think the badges deal with that also, because there's an instant gratification in some respects. But I think a lot of our teachers do a lot of things that are like the Bitmoji, the virtual Bitmoji classrooms. That took off very quickly as a fun interaction with kids.
I've seen on Twitter some of our teachers, Elizabeth Ford, just in the last couple of days, are doing shout outs to students that are doing really, really well. And, I've been liking them and retweeting them. But yeah, we're trying to find some innovative solutions to recognize kids for their hard work in a digital world.
We had one more question come in that said, what is the benefit of using Canvas instead of Google Classroom?
For Elizabeth Ford, it connects with our student management system, so it connects with Power School. So I don't think Google Classroom will ever connect to a student management system. So when a teacher grades something in Canvas, it automatically goes over to our student management system, Power School. So that's again, we want to use technology to engage kids, but also make things easier for our teachers.
I think it's also a little easier to share content, Todd, among and between teachers, because you in essence are creating a course that you can share among and between kids. And in some cases you can tag the content in the courses to organize it differently. I use a management system called School for One in my younger grades that is a standard-based model. So I can tag everything to a standard and generate standard-based report cards in the LMS.
Dr. Rondinelli?
I think that's all of the questions we had this evening. We were asked if this would be posted, and it will, and we will send out a link to all attendees as the session was recorded. Dr. Nagler and Dr. Kurushkin, we cannot thank you enough for being here with us this evening. We thank the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, the Grebel Foundation, Digital Promise, and Remake Learning, and all of those who have supported us in the Transform for Tomorrow series.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for having me.
Nice seeing you. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.